What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bob's Basement. I'm your handsome host, R. Bob L. said. As you can see, we're in a different location today. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but that location isn't actually my basement. It's just a beautiful studio I used to get started with this podcast. I didn't have any equipment. And as you can see, now we do. So I'll be able to record from home now and hopefully get out some more on-time videos to you guys, some more relevant videos to you guys to just help grow this channel. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I got my assistant with me. My assistant is sleeping. Real. Yo, look alive, bro. We gotta record a video, bro. But with that being said, guys, let's get into the video. The college football playoffs are finally set. Let's talk about it. Following an impressive 13-10 win over the defending national champions, Indiana moves from number 2 to number 1 and pushes down Ohio State from number 1 to number 2. A very defensive game, as you could tell just by the final score, but a very entertaining game nonetheless. Actually could have been 13-13 and should have been 13-13 and should have been an overtime game, but the Ohio State kicker obviously had other plans. I'm very impressed by Indiana. I've been all season. A lot of people have been second-guessing this team, saying they just haven't ran into anybody. And when they play a real team like Ohio State, all of this will go out the window. But if you haven't had a reason to believe before, you should now. That defense really impressed me the most. I think it really impressed a lot of people in the nation. Whenever you can hold a high-power offense like that, especially Ohio State's with the widely regarded number 1 receiver in the nation, Jeremiah Smith, and Julian Sand, a guy that's in a lot of Heisman talks and a lot of Heisman races. A lot of people have them as their favorite for the Heisman. You hold a team like that to 10 points, it's very impressive. It doesn't matter who you are. So I don't think anybody in the nation has a problem with these two teams being ranked 1 and 2. I believe Ohio State has been the consensus number 1 all year. Might have been 1 week where they weren't ranked number 1. So I don't think anybody has a problem with these two teams being 1 and 2. Indiana finishes an undefeated regular season. Kirk Cignetti's second year in the Big Ten. He has a Big Ten championship, and he has Indiana in their second straight college football playoff. If you ever, like I said, if you haven't been a believer in Kirk Cignetti and Indiana, you have to be now. All the guy does is win, and he said it himself. So I'm very excited to see what these two teams do in the playoffs. I think they'll both make a pretty good run. And yeah, Indiana 1, Ohio State 2. And after a dominating SEC championship win, the University of Georgia Bulldogs come in at number 3. They steamrolled Alabama 28-7 in Atlanta, winning the second of 2 matchups between the teams, with the Tide winning the first one in Athens late September. And UGA has done nothing but improve as the season's gone on. They won 16-9 against Georgia Tech last week, but with that being a rivalry game, I cut them a little bit of slack because teams are always wonky in rivalry matchups, and they could always go either way. So I don't give them too much punishment for that week. And, yeah, like I said, they've been doing nothing but getting better as the season's gone on. I wasn't a big Gunnar Stockton fan at the beginning of the season, but he's done a lot to impress me, man. He's more mobile than I thought. He throws a better ball than I gave him credit for. And this UGA team is dangerous. They have a lot of guys everywhere, like they always do every year. A lot of people had them slotted as the national championship winners this coming out of this bracket. I don't know if I'm ready to make that prediction yet, but I could definitely see it. UGA has a lot of guys. Zach Branch has been playing good football, and they've just been playing great as a unit. And they dominated Alabama, like I said. So at number 3, the University of Georgia Bulldogs. Coming in at number 4 is the Big 12 representative and the Big 12 champion, Texas Tech. They blew out BYU for the second time this season. And they're very fun to watch, man. Texas Tech has one of, if not the best front 7 in all of college football on that defensive side. They definitely have one of the best linebacker cores in college football. Everybody knows about Jacob Rodriguez, but it's not just him, man. That defense flies around. They make a lot of plays. They get to the quarterback quick, fast, and in a hurry. BYU had no time, really. The front 7 for Texas Tech lived in that backfield. And they ultimately ended BYU's season. BYU, of course, is going to get a bowl game, but everybody knows the biggest goal is the national championship. And BYU's in the hunt, and they're scary, man. They can beat a lot of people. I think with the NIL era, everybody knows how much money is out there in Texas. Texas Tech has a lot of money. Like I said, they got a lot of those front 7 guys out the portal. And this won't be the last time we see Texas Tech in this position. This is not the last time we'll see Texas Tech win the Big 12. I hope they make a real run. I love watching that defense play. And, yeah, and at number 4, Texas Tech. Coming in at number 5, and if you don't know, the 5 seed is really the seed that you really want to be. You get a home playoff game. You get to play the number 12 seed, which is usually a G5 bid. Last year it was Clemson. This year it is JMU. But yeah, coming in at number 5 is the Oregon Ducks with an 11-1 record. Despite having an 11-1 record, they don't have the best resume in the country. Not really too impressive. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat, which you always got to commend people for, because in college football, that's not what always happens. They lost to Indiana 30-20 in a hard-fought game. They beat Penn State early in the season for the whiteout game at Penn State, which is a very impressive win despite the circumstances. They still had James Franklin at the time. They beat a good Washington team late in the season. They definitely did enough to make the college football playoffs. Do I think they deserve to have the number 5 spot? Not necessarily. But nonetheless, a good team and a team that could definitely make a run. The number 5 Oregon Ducks. Coming in at number 6 is another 11-1 team. They are the Lane Kiffin-less Ole Miss Rebels. I was very intrigued to see what the committee did with Ole Miss, seeing as they lost their head coach right before the playoffs. We've seen the committee drop Florida State completely out of the playoffs when they lost their quarterback. That was different circumstances, though. It was a 14 playoff. I didn't think the committee would drop Ole Miss all the way out the playoffs, but I did think they would drop them further than 6. But the team deserves to be here. They're 11-1, like I said, with their only loss coming to UGA. At UGA, I believe. A game they really could have won, and a lot of people will tell you they should have won that game. Like I said, they won't have their head coach for this game. As we know, Lane has packed his bags and gone to LSU. They'll have their full offensive staff as their offensive coordinator came back to coach this game before he ultimately goes to follow Lane at LSU. A very good team. I'm interested to see how much of the play calling came from Lane and how distracted those guys are not having their head man there when they have to play a playoff game. Thankfully, they get a home game, so that would make it a little bit easier. But yeah, coming in at number 6, the Ole Miss Rebels. Coming in at number 7 is the Texas A&M Aggies. And in my opinion, this is where the committee makes their first mistake. I'd probably swap Texas A&M and Oregon and give Texas A&M that 5 spot. An 11-1 SEC team who's looked dominant all year. They had a slip up against Texas, but like I said earlier in the video, rivalry games happen and weird stuff happens in those games. They didn't get like absolutely dominated or anything. They did lose a game. They did lose a game they shouldn't have lost, but that Texas team is a good team. They looked pretty good as of late. A fringe playoff contending team. It's not like they went out and lost to Georgia State or something. I would have gave them the number 5 spot. Marcel Reed is a great quarterback. That Texas A&M offense is very nice, and they could beat anybody. People hold that South Carolina game against Texas A&M, even though they won, for going down that bad to a team like South Carolina. They eventually stormed back. They completed a major comeback early in the second half, and while people were putting Texas A&M down for that, in my eyes, I really hold them up for that. I like seeing a team that can handle some adversity and come back from dire circumstances. A lot of teams say they shouldn't have fallen behind. A lot of people say they shouldn't have fallen behind like that, which I agree with. But they didn't lose the game. They came back. They stormed back. They showed me more in that close win than a lot of teams would in a dominating win. You know what I mean? So Texas A&M at number 7. In my opinion, they'd be number 5, but nonetheless, they're here and they have a chance. Coming in at number 8 is Brent Venables-led Oklahoma. And with any Brent Venables team, you know they're going to have one of the best defenses in the country. And this Oklahoma's team is not any different. They get a home playoff game as well. They're 10-2. The offense has kind of stumbled a little bit. I was very high on John Mateer halfway through this season. He's had a hand injury that's bothering him. He had surgery earlier this season. And I think it's holding the offense back. If they can figure it out on offense in this playoff, they're going to be dangerous. I know I'm saying everybody's going to be dangerous, but this is what the playoffs are. Everybody is dangerous. With that defense, if John Mateer can look like how he looked from weeks 1 through 4, with Sategna on the outside and playmakers all around, they could make a run. Brent Venables is a great coach. I know I'm a little biased. I got the Clemson shirt on. I love Brent Venables, but they're a good team. They're a good defense. They're very well coached, and they get a home playoff game, and I think they do win that home playoff game round 1. Coming in at number 9 is none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide. And if you ask me, Alabama is the most confusing team in this bracket. They come into the playoffs with 3 losses. They started off their season getting their ass whooped by Florida State at Florida State. I believe the score was 31-17. But Florida State dominated them at the line of scrimmage. They pushed them around. They were able to do what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. And Alabama didn't look good. It looked like Kellen DeBoer was back on the hot seat. But after that game, they got their shit together and they went on a run. They went into Athens night game and beat UGA 24-21, which not a lot of people can say they've done. Not a lot of people go into Athens and come out with a win, especially not a night game. And Alabama did it, and they look good, and they look like one of the best teams. I think they beat 4 ranked teams in a row after that. And then Brent Venables in Oklahoma come to town and beat them 23-21 at home. And ever since then, they just haven't looked the same. They look like they've been leaking oil the rest of the way. I know they're dealing with some injuries, but that's what football is, man. It's next man up, especially when you're a team like Alabama. That can't be your crutch is that we're hurt. But yeah, nonetheless, they stumble to the SEC championship and they get pushed around by UGA. UGA gets their leg back in dominating fashion, 28-7, excuse me. And they make it into the playoffs still, 3-loss team at number 9. They went into the SEC championship at number 9. They come out at number 9. I don't believe that is right. I think they should have fell a little bit out the playoffs. I don't think so. But Alabama is here at number 9, and if Alabama's in the playoffs, they have a chance. They play Oklahoma in a rematch in Norman, and I think Oklahoma beats Alabama again. That defense is just too good. I'm a big Todd Simpson fan, but that Alabama offense has not looked good. I don't think their defense will be able to keep them in it. I think OU's defense is going to suffocate Alabama, and I don't know. We'll see what Alabama does with Kalen DeBoer. Coming in at number 10, the one and only ACC representative of the college football playoff, and my dark horse for this college football playoffs, the Miami Hurricanes. After much drama and much speculation and much discussion and much discourse, Miami gets in. It was between them and Notre Dame for the at-large bid. And I think the committee got it right. Notre Dame lost to Miami week 1, and I think that should be the end of discussion. They have very similar resumes. They've played the same opponents. Miami has dominated those opponents while Notre Dame has just escaped. And I think Miami deserves to be here. Like I said, they're my dark horse. That front seven they have and that defense in general they have is so good. Ruben Bain, potentially the number 1 pick in the draft. Their offensive line, the best offensive line in the country. They have an experienced quarterback in Carson Beck. And that's been in this playoff predicament before. So I think that'll benefit them. I think they have a lot to prove, and I think they will prove it. They have playmakers everywhere. Obviously, they lost some games this season that they shouldn't have lost to. They lost to Louisville in that game. Carson Beck, I believe, had 4 or 5 interceptions. Do I see that happening again? No. They lost to SMU. But that's what happens. Some teams need a loss. Some teams need to lose. They need to see what it feels like. I'm happy Miami got in. And like I said, I think they can run this table. I think they have as good of a chance as anybody else. And I'm happy the committee got it right. And rounding out this year's college football playoffs at 11-12 is Tulane and JMU. 2 G5 bids. This is the first time we've seen 2 G5 teams make the playoffs. Tulane won the American Conference. JMU won the Sun Belt Conference. And I'm not going to spend too much time on these teams because realistically these guys have no chance. I like to see G5 teams get a chance, but they really don't have a chance. Tulane's coach is taking the Florida job. JMU's coach is taking the Arkansas job. 2 good teams, but I think I'd rather see a team like Vanderbilt make the playoffs or a team like Texas or a team like Notre Dame. I think G5 teams deserve to be here, but I'd rather see a G5 team playoff bracket and let them compete rather than they come and, take a spot of a team that might be deserving just to see them go and get blown out. Like I said, I'm not against it, though. I'm not mad these guys got their bid, but, it's just not the same. It's just a different ball game. You know what I mean? These G5 teams have better facilities, better recruiting, it's just a whole different ball game. It's not fair to these teams that have to travel to these big stadiums to go play. So I don't see them keeping it close, so I'm not going to spend too much time on these teams, but congratulations to Tulane and JMU. Before I give my official bracket predictions for this playoff, I just want to talk about a few of the problems I have with the decisions that the committee made. It's not a lot. Firstly, I don't think Oregon should be at number 5. I think that position belongs to Texas A&M. Both 11-1 teams, but I think Texas A&M resume is far more impressive than Oregon's. Texas A&M slipped up and lost to Texas in a rivalry game, but I don't put too much stake in rivalry games like I've said before. Anything can happen in those games is very wonky. I think if Texas A&M plays Oregon's schedule, they come out 11-1, if not better. If Oregon plays Texas A&M schedule, they come out 11-1. I do not believe so. And I have no SEC bias. You can see I have a Clemson shirt on. I'm a Clemson fan, but I think that 5 position belongs to Texas A&M. They're battle tested. They went down big against South Carolina and fought back. I love to see that. I believe that position falls to Texas A&M. If I could redo it, I'd have Texas A&M at 5, Oregon at 6, and Ole Miss at 7. I'd also probably move Alabama down some more. I don't see how they went into the college football playoff. Not the college football playoff. I don't see how they went into the SEC championship at number 9, got steamrolled and came out at number 9. BYU lost the same way and got taken out of the playoffs completely. Ohio State lost their championship game and moved down a spot. How does Alabama go in at 9 and come out at 9? It's crazy. I'd probably put Miami at 9 and Alabama at 10. There has to be some kind of punishment. I don't believe in dropping teams all the way out the playoffs for losing the conference championship game. Well, there has to be some kind of punishment. You can't go in and come out the same way, especially after losing by 3 scores and the game not being particularly close at all, actually. So those are really my only problems with it. 1 through 4 is pretty nice. And yeah, other than that, I'd love to see the G5 teams get a chance. Everybody loves the underdog story, but this isn't Disney Channel. These teams really have no chance. I believe they both are going to get steamrolled week 1. Both of their coaches are leaving for SEC jobs, which is a good thing, I guess. But I'd love to see one of those spots go to a Texas or a Vandy or a Notre Dame. One of those fringe teams who could really make a run other than, a Cinderella story. Like, this isn't college basketball. It's college football, and these teams just don't have what it takes to compete. They don't have the size. They don't have the funding. They don't have the speed. They don't have the facilities. I love to see it. I love to see a good story, but I would have loved it more to see Vandy or Texas or Notre Dame. But, yeah, other than that, I think the committee got it pretty right. There's always going to be people that complain about this stuff. It's not like the NFL playoffs where it's metrics. Committees come down to decisions and who they think is the best teams. And I'm glad that Miami made it in over Notre Dame. I think that was the right decision. And, yeah, I'm excited to see it. Moving on to my official predictions of this year's college football playoff. Starting with the first game of week 1, JMU versus Oregon. And to keep a long story short, I'm just going to say belt to ass. I believe Oregon runs JMU out the gym. Like I was saying, these G5 teams just cannot compete at this level, man. They don't have the size. They don't have the speed. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the funding. You name it. It's just not a fair chance. I have no problem with them being in this playoff. I would much rather see the G5 teams have their own bracket and have them compete against each other. I feel like that'd be even more must-see TV. They could play on different days than the regular 12-team playoff, and more football, more money for everybody involved. And they actually have a real chance to go win the national championship. But, yeah, long story short, Oregon dominates James Madison, and they move on to face Texas Tech. But sticking to week 1, again, another game, Alabama and Oklahoma. These teams meet for the second time this year, this time in Oklahoma. We all know Oklahoma won the first matchup in Bryant-Denny Stadium, 23-21. And I believe this time is no different. I think Oklahoma handles business. Alabama's offense has just not been smooth. It's not been running well. They're going to run into a great Oklahoma defense. I think Oklahoma finally puts it together on offense and gets back to how they looked early in the season, and I think they handle Alabama, and I think they move on to the next round. I'll be interested to see what this does to Kalen DeBoer's job security. I don't think they fire him this year just because of the coaching cycle that's already taken place. There's not many people left that are a better option than Kalen DeBoer, but those fans are not going to let them hear the end of it. Moving on to the next game, Tulane travels to Ole Miss to play Ole Miss in their first game removed of the Lane Kiffin era. We all know Lane Kiffin has packed his bags for LSU. So I think this is a great matchup for Ole Miss in their first game without Lane. A good G5 opponent to get their swag back at home. I believe the Ole Miss fans are going to show up and show out because of how they felt about the Lane Kiffin situation. And I think belt to ass again. I think Ole Miss dominates Tulane. Like I said, these G5 teams just don't have the size and the speed, especially to compete with an SEC team, especially traveling to the SEC team. Excuse me. Moving on to the best game of week 1. Miami travels to College Station to play Texas A&M. And thankfully for Miami, this game is a noon kickoff instead of a night game. I think that's going to work in their favor a lot. I'm a real big fan of Miami's front seven. I'm a real big fan of their defense in general. Ruben Bain is probably going to end up being the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. And I'm a real big fan of Miami's offensive line. They move people. They play as a unit. They're very good. Carson Beck has been in this playoff situation before. Veteran quarterback. He knows what's expected of him. They have playmakers on the outside everywhere. C.J. Daniels, Malachi Tony, you name it. Their wide receiver room is very deep. They'll be playing a very good Texas A&M team on the road. And if I had to make a prediction, I think Miami wins this game. I know it's not going to be a popular prediction. A lot of people in the comments are going to be on me about this. But like I said, their offensive line and defensive line is just that good to where they can reset the offensive line and defensive line every play. And the game of football is one of the line of scrimmage, whether you like it or not. So Miami goes into College Station and beats a good SEC team, and they keep rolling. And after they play that game, they go on to play Ohio State. These set of games will be played at a neutral site, which again works in the favor of Miami. And I think Miami keeps it rolling again and beats Ohio State. I think the difference in this game is Julian Sain is a young quarterback and Carson Beck is not. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of Carson Beck, but I think if he can keep the ball in Miami's hands, they do enough to win this game. As long as he doesn't go out and lose the game for them, Miami's defense is going to do enough. Miami's playmakers are going to do enough. Miami's offensive line is going to do enough for them to get past Ohio State and keep going. Ohio State didn't look that great against Indiana, against a good defense. And I think the same will be said when they play Miami in the quarterfinals. So I have Miami moving on to the semifinals. And next, UGA and Ole Miss meet again, this time without, again, Ole Miss not having Lane Kiffin. And I don't think this game is close. I think UGA handles Ole Miss, and a new era is brought in at Ole Miss. Ole Miss's offensive coordinator leaves to go link up with his boy Lane at LSU, and I think Trinidad Chambliss follows him as well. And a boatload of other guys follow Lane to Ole Miss, and new era of college football, new era for Ole Miss, and they start fresh with a blank page. But I think UGA dominates them in the quarterfinals. Moving on, Oklahoma versus Indiana. A battle of two good defenses, a battle of two really great coaches. I'm a big Brent Venables fan. I'm a real big Kirk Cignetti fan. And I think Indiana keeps it rolling here, and they dominate Oklahoma, and they move on to the semifinals. That Indiana offense is going to be the difference. I think Indiana's defense is going to be able to stop Oklahoma more than Oklahoma can stop Indiana, might be a grass is green take, like obviously, if I think they're going to win. But I think Indiana keeps it rolling. I think they're just too good of a well-rounded team, and I think Kirk Cignetti is the real deal. Moving on to the next game, Oregon versus Texas Tech. And sticking to the theme of best front sevens in the country, Texas Tech's front seven is just as good as anybody else's, if not better. A lot of the guys they grabbed out of the portal, they have one of the best linebacker cores in the nation. I think they make it very tough on Dan Lanning and Dante Moore. I think he's going to be under a lot of duress. He's going to have to get out the pocket a lot. He's not going to be able to scramble for a lot. Just because that defense flows, man. Jacob Rodriguez, one of the best players in college football. I think Texas Tech handles business, and I think they beat Oregon and move on to the semifinals where they'll see Indiana. And I think, unfortunately, that's where their season ends. Indiana's just too well-rounded of a team. I think they're going to be able to give that defense some fits with the scheme they run. And I think they handle business. Like I said, I think Indiana's going to be able to contain that Texas Tech offense and score more points. It'll be a low-scoring game, probably like a 21-14, 21-17, something like that. But Indiana ultimately gets it done, and it's in the national championship in Kirk Cignetti's second year as the head coach. Down at the bottom of the bracket, UGA sees Miami, and this will be absolute cinema. UGA former quarterback Carson Beck, as we all know, going against his old team in Gunnar Stockton. I would love to have seen this game played on a college campus. This game in Athens would be absolute cinema. I think the whole playoffs except the national championship should be played on campus. But two great defenses battling it out, two good offenses battling it out. And ultimately, I think this game comes down to who can win the line of scrimmage. And I think Miami does that. And I think Miami shocks the world and upsets Georgia to go on to the national championship, where they ultimately win the national championship against the Indiana Hoosiers. I sound like a broken record here, but their front seven is too good. Their offensive line is too good. Any team that could reset the line of scrimmage is just, they're at an advantage. If you reset the line of scrimmage consistently, there's no way you lose the game. I think UGA's offense and Indiana's offense just won't be enough to win those two games. And I think Miami shocks the world and hoist the championship at the end of the season, the championship trophy at the end of the season. Mario Cristobal finally gets the one, and Miami proves the committee right for putting them in the college football playoffs. And my 2025 national champions, Miami Hurricanes, man. All right, guys, that's all I got for y'all today. We'll be back soon to revisit these takes week by week. I'm excited to see the college football playoff unfold, and I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in and staying this long into the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see y'all on the next one. Deuces. Even further beyond that, I say Gwinnett County is the best county for football.
For sure.
We played a lot of comp in that 7A region of Gwinnett football. We actually played each other in high school. Played our senior year. We ain't gonna discuss the score or nothing like that. We actually played on ESPN. You remember anything about that game?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it being hyped up.
Yeah.
But I just remember I remember it being hyped up. But it was fun though. I mean, like, just the memories and, you know, just playing high school days. I feel like that